Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining and welcome to our webinar on 5G private networks in the German market. My name is Sarah Noonan. I'm from Enterprise Ireland in our German office, and I will be moderating today's event. So I'm delighted to be joined by our panel of market experts from Druid Software, Mugler AG, Citycom, and Beacon, who will provide us with an in-depth view of the state of play of 5G private networks in the market. So our session today will examine how private 5G networks are being used for industrial automation, the main benefit of what 5G and advanced connectivity can offer are often identified as reliable connectivity, for one, reduced latency, and increased speed. These factors are all very much central requirements for supporting production critical processes. When deployed in closely monitored and controlled environments, such as factories, the design and requirements of the private network is more straightforward, and presumably as a result, we are now seeing the manufacturing industry is showing more and more of a pull for private networks. To this extent, the panel will focus on the key challenges that they are facing when designing and deploying 5G private networks for manufacturing sectors, the learnings from established testbeds, and how they see the market growing. So before we dive in, I'll just quickly introduce myself properly. As I said, my name is Sarah Noonan, and I'm a market executive working for Enterprise Ireland based in our Düsseldorf office. I'm working in the digital technology sector, covering specifically telco and IoT portfolios. So for those of you who don't know, Enterprise Ireland is the National Trade and Innovation Agency of the Irish government. That means we are the government body responsible for supporting and developing Irish enterprises in world markets. In this capacity, that's how we're working with Druid Software, and we're supporting them on their expansion into the German market. And now, without further ado, let me introduce you to our panelists today. So first up, we have David O'Byrne, who's the Senior Business Development Manager at Druid Software. Druid Software is a core cellular network software manufacturer based in Ireland. They're specializing in the development of the Remus software-based mobile communications platform. And Remus makes the integration of the likes of 5G, 4G, 3G, 2G, and Wi-Fi devices from any vendor through standardized interfaces possible, and for example, makes them usable in campus networks. Then we have Sven Lawrence, who is the Vice Head of Department Private Networks at Mugler AG. Mugler is a leading partner for telecommunications solutions focused on mobile networks and system solutions. Mugler has implemented a large number of 5G, 4G, LTE local private networks internationally for partners, including the construction of the 5G campus network with Druid Software at the Technical University of Kaiserslautern. Then we're going to hear from Andreas Schmidt from Citycom, who is their in-house 5G network consultant. Citycom looks to solve the challenges for networks, focus on digital transformation of infrastructure and the networks of tomorrow. And so are specialized in network infrastructure across all stages, from consulting, architecture, automation, development, testing, deployment, all the way to operations. And last but not least, introduce Marcus Fischer, who is the project manager and telco consultant at Beacon. Beacon have been successfully operating in the IT and telecommunications sector for more than 30 years, and their solution helps its customers to digitalize processes and optimize ICT infrastructure. One of their solutions is the KMU campus network, a 5G campus network specifically for SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises in Berlin, where Beacon operates a 5G test lab with Remus software from Druid. So quickly to our agenda. So first up, David from Druid speaking to us with a market update and going through latest features and capabilities in the 5G networks. Then we'll hear from Sven from Mugler on German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence and with that a use case from the Smart Factory. Then Andreas Schmidt at Citycom will update us on where they are at with Oron a Reality. And then lastly to Marcus Fisher at Beacon on the affordability and commercial benefits of 5G campus networks. And we'll finish up then with a Q&A. So we're happy to take any questions over the course of the webinar. So you can just use the chat function in the GoToWebinar to submit your questions, and we will get to them at the end. So without further delay, over to you, David.
Thank you, Sarah, and thanks to all of our other speakers today, and of course to our participants and attendees. In a short presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the new functions in the Druid software, location management, or LMF, which is a very interesting and exciting function in the market. We're also going to give a demonstration of 4G, 5G network slicing, which is another key feature in our platform, and also talk about one of the hotter topics in private networks, especially with Apple's recent announcement, which is eSIMs and how eSIMs can be integrated into private networks. Next, please. So yeah, location management or LMF. This is probably one of the most keenly anticipated features in release 16 of 3GPP. There are endless applications for accurate location management, from utilities to healthcare, industrial manufacturing, IoT, and even into education and retail use cases. And of course, in the vehicle to everything or V2X space, location and accurate location management is of course a critical feature. Go next, please. What Druid has developed, thank you, in our summer release, which was just brought out 2 months ago, is the LMF function, which was described in 3GPP release 16. What the LMF function does essentially is it takes the measurement information that is generated by the next generation RAN and by the user equipment, which you can see on the left-hand side of the diagram, over the new protocols that were introduced in release 16 from the Access Mobility Management function, or AMF, part of our 5G core, into this new element where it's processed and then exported into the location server, which is made up of the SMLC and the SLP. It's important to note that without radio or RAN that can track location and user equipment that can provide the right information out over the radio, and without the location server or SMLC, you can't get the fully accurate location presented on a nice screen the way the end user will want to get it. But with those elements, but without the LMF, you can't deliver that either. So it is part of an overall solution, but the core part of it is something that we have developed. In terms of the accuracy that can be achieved, so far in labs, we have gotten to 1 meter or less accurate. Of course, it all depends on the accuracy of the UE and the capabilities of the RAN and SMLC as well. So it depends on all of the elements working together to meet what's technically possible or theoretically possible in the specification. But from our trials, we see no reason why, with the right RAN and the right UE, it wouldn't be possible to get down into the tens of centimeters in terms of accuracy for location, which is really the door opener for many, many use cases in the future. Go next, please. So right now, we are trialing our LMF function with RAN manufacturers and UE manufacturers in the US for specific commercial applications. We would expect our first commercial deployment of the LMF function as part of our core to be in Q4 2021, probably in the US. But we are also very interested in talking to other radio manufacturers or other location server manufacturers about trials and commercial deployments in Europe and elsewhere. So if you have another part of this jigsaw puzzle and you'd like to do some interop testing or explore commercial opportunities, please let us know. We're very open to doing that testing and having that conversation. Next, please. So the next part that we want to talk about is network slicing. I think this is probably more understood than location, but to quickly recap, this was introduced in release 15 as another one of the key drivers for network performance for campus networks. Basically, what slicing does is it enables equipment with different bandwidth and latency needs to operate in an optimal way on the same network. Now, this is a nice to have in a lot of use cases, but increasingly we see it as an absolutely critical necessity to meeting service level requirements in critical environments, for example, healthcare, where there is some equipment that absolutely must work all the time, or basically somebody has an adverse health outcome or worse. So if you want to be able to guarantee the kind of service level agreements that would be required in some of these environments, then you need to be able to divide and use up the network capacity in a sensible way. If we go next, please. And that is precisely what the Ramus platform allows you to do. But what are the requirements that a real life end customer is going to have for network slicing? I think first of all, the task of adding or removing devices or configuring a slice or adding a new slice cannot be something that you have to go back to a telco or you have to go back to some form of external agency to help you with. It should be a simple administration task that your IT admin in the building is able to manage, because you will be adding devices, changing devices, moving them from one slice to another frequently. So it's got to be a nice, simple task that can be done by basically anybody. The major parameters of the slice should be configurable. So latency, performance, uplink, downlink, speed, etc. should all be readily configurable from a simple user interface. It should be possible to configure devices independently or to group together all of devices of a similar kind and just configure the slice thereon. And it should again be easy to move devices from one group to another so that you can manage them. And finally, because we are still seeing a lag in supply for 5G user equipment and 5G radio in the market, many companies are deploying 4G networks first and then migrating to 5G. So ideally, slicing functionality should be available for 4G or LTE as well as for 5G, which it is with the Ramus platform. I'd now like to show a short video, which gives you a demonstration of how easy it is to set up network slices and configure them in Ramus.
Ohani, I'm from Druid, and I would like to show you network slicing with Ramus and 5G. I want to show you how simple it is to create two network slices and assign one UE to one group and one UE to another, and we can set different 5QI and latency and preemption to two different UEs in two different slices. So here we are on the dashboard page. You can see I have two UEs here which are provisioned in Ramus. They're here, they are not attached at the moment. I'll have them in airplane mode, but I'm going to take these two UEs, create two different groups and put those groups into new networks. So I will click this new group icon here. I'll call this gold. I'll give it a phone number here, any phone number, and I'll add a gold slice UE to it there, which is one of the UEs here. I'll add a second group called silver, and also give that a number. Any number will do, and then I'll add a that silver UE to that group and confirm that. So I have two slices now with one UE in each. Then I will go to the networks tab, and I have a default network here which accepts all users, but I will now create a gold network, gold APN, using any port there, and I will not allow all users though. I will only allow users from the gold group. I will support 5G, and I will select a slice here. I'll select this EMBB slice. I can call it gold slice if I wish in expert mode, and here I will edit the QoS here. So for gold slice I will give it a lower packet delay budget, and I will allow preemption to be triggered, and I will say, for example, I will increase the downlink AMBR and the uplink AMBR. I'll save that there, and you can see here I now have four networks. One of them is the gold network. I will add another network here, another slice. I'll call it silver. And again, I can even select the same port. I will select a different group of UEs assigned to this slice, and I will assign a different quality of service to this slice. Because it's the silver, I will select a longer delay to be sent to the G node B, and I will allow it to be preemptible, and I will leave the downlink AMBR as it is. I can save that now. So now I have two different slices, two different UEs, and I can take these UEs out of airplane mode here, and you'll see that they will be assigned IP addresses in the two different groups. So you can see here, this gold slice UE has been assigned to the gold slice, and the silver UE has been assigned to the silver slice. They are both 5G attached and voice over NR capable, which you can see here in the presence donut and the activity donut. Okay, you can see they're both active now. Thank you.
Thanks very much, sir. So as you could see there, in just a couple of minutes, literally, we were able to create two new slices, or basically create two new virtual networks, create two new users and add them to the virtual networks, and also change the parameters for those networks all in under 3 minutes, which is something that I think is a task that will be regularly required in private networks, and therefore something that's going to be very helpful to businesses running private networks. Sarah, I don't see the slide deck. There we go, thank you. The last thing, just as we're running a little short of time, I just want to touch on this. eSIM is something that is becoming an increasingly asked for feature in private networks. eSIM is, of course, the ability to download the SIM credentials, not having to insert a physical SIM card into your device. And particularly for moving mobile handsets onto a private network, the complexity of having people swap SIMs has always been one of the blocking features to prevent people from, let's say, if they go to a shopping mall, an airport, or a basketball stadium, from going onto the private network and being able to enjoy the improved network speed and the other features that can be delivered in a campus network. Through our partnership with G&D in Munich, we have done some demonstrations to show how a campus network can work together with eSIM functionality for the devices that are eSIM capable. And as we can see every day, there seem to be more announcements of eSIM capacity in private devices. So the very exciting area. I won't labor you with another video, but I would invite you to go to YouTube and look up the Druid software account there, and you can see there the video of the demonstration of the trials we have done with G&D and how eSIM works for campus networks. With that, I would like to thank you for your time and attention and hand you back to Sarah.
Thank you very much, David. That was very interesting, and interesting to hear the latest updates and the features going on in 5G and the private networks. And of course, a demo always helps to visualize these things a little better. So I'm going to now hand over to Sven, and he's going to take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for your introduction. Yeah, I've brought for today's talk 2 topics. I want to show it's the ORAN-based network we have built on the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence, and I've also brought some use cases we see in the market. Next slide, please. Before I go into the 2 topics, I will have a short introduction of the Mookla AG. Mookla AG is a service provider in the telecommunication sector. We founded in 1990 and have now around 320 employees. Our slogan is from the idea to the complete network. which means we cover with our services the whole life cycle of a telecommunication network, from the planning to installation till the operation. We work in the B2B area, and our biggest customers are the MNOs in German market. Next slide, please. We've developed the complete process to cover all the services in the lifecycle of the network. And we do also cover all the service internally with our different business units that are available at our so it starts with the concept phase and the planning phase and goes until the network is not needed anymore and it will be deconstructed. So what I say is that we really cover all the services that are needed for a network. Next slide, please. So the first topic I've brought is the 5G network at the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence. We have built there a small indoor network for a small research shop floor at the DFKI. What we've delivered is a multi-vendor 5G network with a 5G core from Druid and the RAN from Airspan Networks. The RAN is a fully ORAN compliant RAN and runs on COTS server hardware, as a commercial off-the-shelf server hardware. In the network, there are 3 servers. Yeah, you can see on the picture, the small server is for the 5G core, and the 2 servers thereunder are for the RAN. On one server, runs the CU and the management, and the other server is for the DU. In the shop floor, we have installed an Air Velocity 2700 RU from Airspan Networks. Before the installation, we have done a whole radio network planning to show how many radio units are needed for this shop floor. And we have also tested with different interior, and what we have shown our customer is that 1 RU is sufficient for the propagation. Next slide, please. Yeah, what the DFKI wants to do with the network is that they want to test use cases with a focus on smart factory and industrial 4.0. There's some, for example, the flexible production. Flexible production means that it's a production with lot size 1, where you have to rearrange your working place after every lot. So at the moment, there's a high cabling. You have to do the cabling for the communication network, and then when you use 5G, you can rearrange your working place without any cabling anymore. The second use case they want to cover is process monitoring. Process monitoring means that they have many sensors in the workshop which collect informations, and they want to use it for monitoring purpose and to do monitoring purpose. Yeah, and the next step will be then that they will have a process control where the application on the application service controls the whole process. And the 4th use case they want to cover is the intralogistics with a swarm of AGVs. Then they have in mind to use AI artificial intelligence algorithms for the management and orchestration of the network. Therefore, an O-RAN-based network is very good because you have the open interfaces you can use for the management and orchestration. And also in the next step, you will see that there's a rig functionality where you can install such AI algorithms. And the last thing they want to use is to create a center for O-RAN interoperability tests. And with this task, we will support the DFKI on their tasks. So next slide, please. So this second topic I've brought for today's talk are some use cases we see from our customers. I've brought 4 use cases, and we'll start with the one that is the use case we see for early adopters. Yeah, the AR, VR use case. Yeah, the use case. It's be used for example, different activities like machine maintenance or training purpose or remote assistant for the workshop. We also see these use cases in the ER sector with the telesurgery. You see on the right side the communication diagram for this use case. In the start, we will see that the early adopters will start with 5G gateways for this communication and connect the AR, VR devices to this gateway. This gateway could be a router which has Wi-Fi on board, and you can connect the AR, VR devices on Wi-Fi, but it could also be a smartphone where the AR, VR devices then are connected. On the technical requirements, we see that there are lower latency needed. It's not as low as we see in other use cases, but you also have high bandwidth requirements because you have to upload the HD video stream to an application service, and in the download you have the combined video stream and also other objects that are there for the information of the HR VR user. One example is also the picking in the warehouse. Yeah, the picker has the AR VR device on it, and there it is shown which part he has to pick for the next production process. Next slide, please. Another use case is are the automated guided vehicles. In the first steps, we will see that the application loads down HD maps to the HEV and also says where the HEV has to drive. The rest the HEV will do on its own. In the next step, we will see that in the application service runs an LDM and local dynamic map, which contains all the objects the HEVs have recognized on the shop floor. And it covers also objects which sensors which are also communicating via 5G have recognized on the shop floor. With this, you can the HEV can drive faster and safer. One thing I have to mention is that in step 2, we need in very high available communication network, because if you don't have it, all the because if you don't have it all, if the advantages you have with this won't fit, and the AGV will have to drive on their own again. Next slide, please. Yeah, the use case we see with the highest KPI requirement is the process automation. Process automation means, for example, that you have the cobots use case where robots interact with human coworkers. This all is monitored by the application in the cloud. And for this, the communication must be very reliable and secure. In this communication, all the communication packets must arrive at robot side. So we have very low latency requirements, high bandwidth requirements, because you have to send all the sensor data to the application cloud, and the communication must be very reliable. We will see that this is not implementable with the state-of-the-art 5G networks, but with the coming releases, we will see this use case running. And next slide, please. And the last use case I've brought with me is the 5G positioning. This is a use case we see from all our customers in Germany. They want to track, for example, assemblies and devices in their shop floor, because I've learned that they miss from time to time devices. So what they want to do is to track the devices using the 5G network. With this standard network, mobile networks, this isn't functioning because it's not implemented. We have heard in the talk before that Druid provides the LMF function. And this is the first step to do the positioning with the 5G network. And we also see that in coming releases, the position for the tracking will be much higher than it is now. So next slide, please. Yeah, and with this, I'll come to the end of my talk.
Thank you very much, Sven. That was very interesting, and interesting to see these differences between all the technical requirements of the different 5G use cases, from the automation and AGVs. And also when you touched earlier on the ORAN, on the capabilities in the ORAN network. It was a nice insight. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to hand over to Andreas Schmidt from Citycom. You take it away, Andreas.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for the introduction, and thank you, Sven, for your presentation. Yeah, hi and welcome to everyone. My topic of today is 5G ORAN, where we are today. But first, let me introduce myself quick. My name is Andreas Schmidt. I'm a network consultant for 5G solution and services at Citycom. So now let's take a quick view on the topics of today. First, I want to say something about Citycom and what we have done so far in the 5G area. After that, we will talk about the 5G ORAN goals and the buzzword magic. Then we make a quick view on the 3GPP release roadmap and what this means to the whole 5G sector. And then we talk about the current reality of 5G ORAN, where we are today. And as a conclusion, I will give you all an outlook for realistic expectation. So Sarah, please go to the next one. So who is Citycom? Citycom GmbH is an innovative technology company that has existed since 2010. With a focus on digital transformation of infrastructures and networks of tomorrow. Our solutions and services range from technical and strategic advice to engineering services for the planning and implementation of network infrastructures in communication and corporate networks. We have extensive one slide back. Just 2 more sentences, please. We have extensive competencies in the areas of telecommunication and software-defined networks, which enable public and private networks of the next generation. Currently, we have 5 main offices. The first one, Weiterstadt, it's a small town next to Darmstadt here in Germany. Cologne, Munich, Bruchsal, it's a small city next to Karlsruhe, and Dresden, and also some project hubs. And currently, I have around 130 colleagues who are working in this or on this whole bunch of to-dos. So now please move on. Thank you. So what we have done so far in 5G. Our first thoughts were in the mid of 2019 to get part of the new 5G possibilities. After that, we start to evaluate some 5G partners who are working and developing core solution, RAN systems, radio units, user devices, and so on. After that, we got the first proof of concept, and in the mid of 2020, the first project as a research lab here in Germany. But I think the biggest point of this time beam was the first data call over a private 5G O-RAN net this year in April. We were connected with a laptop over a Fibercom board. It's a small developer board for mobile networking to the 5G net and attended successfully to an online Teams meeting. This was very cool. So this is a short overview of what we have done so far. So now let's go into the main topic. Sarah, next slide. Thank you. The O-RAN goals. Everybody knows this triangular. The 3 corners: enhanced mobile broadband, massive machine type communication, ultra reliable machine type communication. These are the great highlight. These are the big highlights from the 5G marketing. With also the headlines like MIMO or network slicing, more than 1 million connections in 1 square kilometer. Latency around 1 millisecond, and also the peak rate with more than 10 gigabits per second, and so on. These are all the main goals of 5G we all want to have. Keep this in mind. We will see the triangle again later. So next slide, please. What I want to show you on this slide is a rough outline of the 3GPP release roadmap. You can see the line with the green line with the today. There we are now in the middle of defining the release 17. Means release 15 and 16 are finished, yes, but finished with definition. The development and implementation of the release requirements are still ongoing. These are the light blue arrows you can see next to the release arrows. All the core RAN UE vendors are still developing parts of release 15 and have just started the development of the release 16 features. Many customer tenders contains requirements from release 16 or even 17. That's currently not available. You can't make an offer because you can't fulfill the requirements. Please keep this in mind if you are currently working on a 5G tender. Yet we all want to have positioning and V2X communication, but let us be patient, okay? So, and this brings me to the next slide and also the reality or the current reality of 5G. Currently, you see it's the same triangle as 2 slides before, and also the blue headlines with the main goals of 5G, and above of this the black sublines with the reality. Currently, we have a peak rate up to 1 gigabit per second, a latency around 10 milliseconds, continuously improving. 4G or LTE had the goal to reach the 10 milliseconds. So yeah, we are next to this. We have a lot less connected user equipment than 1 million per square kilometers. Network slicing is still challenging. Currently, we are working with one slice, but as we've seen in the presentation from Druid, it's easy possible. So we will try it. And MIMO is also a big thing. Currently, we have radio units with 4x4 MIMO, but no beamforming. It's also still under developing, and this is the same thing for positioning. Everybody wants to have positioning, but for positioning, you need a part of the beamforming. So you can now see that the reality is still a long way from the output of the 5G targets. So to be realistic, we have a way to go to fulfill the expectations, but I'm confident that in the upcoming months and years, we will make big steps forward to reach this goal. So now, please, Sarah, move to the next slide and make it a little bit shorter. Now, at least, I want to give you all an outlook what every shareholder of the 5G area should do a little bit better. First, I want to start with the vendors. Please present realistic roadmaps about upcoming features. There's nothing worse for us, the integrators, than having to tell the customer, sorry, your feature will come 6 months later. Then to the integrators, so also to me, please communicate very, very open to the customer what is currently possible and what's not. And to the customer, at least, please get a realistic expectation about the current 5G situation and performance, because nobody has to be surprised if you require release 17 or 16 and you don't get any offer. Keep in mind, we all have the same goal, 5G performance, like in the picture on the right. And this is something we all work every day for. And this is the goal, yes, but let us be patient with the fancy features like positioning or V2X or all the good stuff the 3GPP defines in their releases. Be patient, everything comes with the time. It's not a plug and play feature or plug and play update like on your laptop. Right click, update, wait 1 minute, and when you have the new version of your software, it's a little bit difficult. So yeah, this was the quick and short introduction of 5G where we are today. The last slide. I also say thank you for your time and your attention, and yeah, let's keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. I definitely enjoyed your honest outlook on 5G and where it's going. That was very interesting. I'm sure our attendees will be the ones who are more patient in the future, perhaps. Now, next up, we have Marcus Fischer from Beacon. Oh, you are muted. Wait a second. If you could just unmute yourself, Marcus.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Sven and Andreas. Very, very nice and open presentation. Touch base is the reality. Thanks for this. Now I will introduce a bit our KMU Campus Nets, Beacon, and where we are and where we would go. So please go to the next slide. And the next slide. At first, a small introduction about Beacon. Beacon is a more than 30-year-old company. We have 3 locations, one in Berlin, one in Fulda, and one in Munich. We are 100% private-owned company, and we have a different bunch of supplier where we work on, and a big bunch of customer. Next slide, please. Next slide, exactly. We have a focus on different areas. So we have the telecommunication at 12 o'clock, mainly on the 5G campus network. Then we have an own development for AR/VR cases. We have a bunch of experts for cloud computing, make data center operation, do services in data center, and do ISMS. And this whole bunch of experts and expertise is 100% created for 5G network with all features from deploying and planning over integration until operation. Next slide, please. I guess the whole explanation, what is 5G, what we do with use cases, are already done by Sven. And similar things we could also explain, similar to Citycom, but it's no need to do this here because already done. So next slide, please. So what we have in the whole 5G network is that Beacon has deployed an own set for fixed price parts of a 5G network, and the target from us is to tackle the private market. In the reality, yet I guess Citycom and Mugler will also confirm, we have two kind of projects who are available. One are the government paid, unimportant if it comes from German government or by the NRW or whoever. And then we have the enterprise companies who want to have for prestige and 5G network. So the real usage and the real opportunities and possibilities of a 5G network in competition or in comparison to a 4G network are growing but not really complete available. So our target is to consult the small medium enterprise business for their own use cases, that they get a real benefit of the build and setup of a 5G network. So, and one other thing is Beacon, also Citycom, are smaller companies, and it's easier if the KMU talk to a KMU instead of talk to an enterprise company, because the leverage of the communication is similar. So go to the next slide, please. So what we have done, we try to attack over direct contact and also over consulting partnership with different partners to get direct contact to the SMEs and to do consulting with them why they need a 4G 5G network and what are the benefits of this. And the most important thing, and therefore the customer market is much more difficult. Instead to win a RFQ, you have to get the consulting discussion with the end customer in this way of working, that they see the financial benefits of the decision to go to a 4G or 5G network. So for this, it's important that we have a very, very short and very good established communication with all our suppliers. And through it, so if you go to the next slide, through it was from the first second a very, very empathic and very sympathetic and very fast, with a fast reaction time working company, who give us the possibility to start to develop our KMU network. Because one other thing is very important, if a customer decides he wants to have an own 4G or 5G network, the time to market and the time to deliver is very, very important. Because if they decide they do, then they will do, and not wait until the market deliver in half a year. Therefore, it's very important that the communication to the supplier are well established. So, and the decision to go for Druid depends on the product structure. So we have the possibility to set up this growing path that we start with a VLAN system, enable, like David has shown, a 4G network and 5G network paired with a network slicing functionality that the customer could grow in the future. And this is the main goal why we have decided to go in this strong partnership with Druid. And there's no need for any software update or something like this. It's only a license update, and then the system grow automatically with the needs of the customer. So, and beside all these things, the enterprise or the small medium customer look for an attractive pricing model. And this is very important to have in the next years a license model price who allow to operate the whole system, and the earnings still alive. So this was my short introduction and a short overview why we have decided to go into partnership with Druid. The KMU campus nets overall is split in 3 categories. The first category is set up with a Druid core and 2 or 4 indoor cells. The medium size is set up with 2 outdoors and 4 indoor cells. And the large is for multi-location systems. If you need further details, please have a look at our homepage. There are also a price list for these systems are available. Yeah, I want to thanks to your time and hand over back to Sarah.
Thank you very much, Marcus. That was very interesting. And thank you for giving us that overview on the campus networks and where you're at with them. I'll definitely be eager to hear what these future possibilities are with these 5G campus networks and the opportunities that will come from them. So now thank you to all our speakers, to David, Sven, Andreas, and Marcus. And now we're going to have a short Q&A. We just have a couple of minutes left, so I'm not sure if we have time for all the questions, but we have had a couple come in. So let me see, let me look quickly at the chat. Okay. So we've firstly had a question come in from Jens asking, why do you need 5G instead of Wi-Fi? What is the difference? What is the benefit? Who would like to chime in on this one? Sven, maybe?
Yeah. The most important argument comes with the mobility of the UEs. We see in Wi-Fi, if you roam between different Wi-Fi access points, that there will be a gap in the transportation of packets. So there is a gap where packets get lost. If you need a reliable communication, you can only go with 5G. There, all the packets reach the UE, and also the latency will be on a good side. One other thing is if you have a very high number of end devices in the Wi-Fi, the latency also goes up, and also the reliability goes down. So these are the arguments for a 5G network.
In addition to Sven arguments, I guess the proper handover is the main point. If you drive an HEV or some similar things in a VLAN network, you have continuously, if the cell changing, have to be proceeded. The problem did the second cell where he will go receive and connect to the HEV, and this feature is a telecommunication feature that the handover is controlled so that the communication is still stable and valid. This is the main point. If you have an use case where it's not needed to have a stable communication. WLAN is successful enough, but to be future-proof to go to 4 or 5G network should be the right option.
Thank you, very interesting. We have a second question, and David, I think this might be for you, and then others you can chime in also. So when does the real scale happen from trial beds to the real industrial application? So what is the current state looking like at the moment?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of the difference between campus networks and public networks is that the enterprise customers are much more demanding than public customers, and they really want to know the return on investment for every euro they spend. And therefore, when they look at private networks, campus networks, they really want to understand what the commercial benefits of AR, VR, location, and all of the other features that 5G brings with it will be for them. And I think the answers to those questions are emerging from the research facilities and the trials that have been done. I think there is already some information published from Bosch GmbH and some other companies about experiences that they have had. We need more of that. We need the universities and the businesses that have started with trial labs to be brave to publish their results and come out and say what they have found. But already we see there are financial benefits and a positive business case for 5G already. I think that supply of everything from servers to radio components to everything else has been badly affected by the global pandemic, and that supply chain needs to get back on its feet before businesses will really be able to invest in this. I would say that in the next 6 months, so let's say into Q1, maybe Q2 of 2022, that's when you will see radio components and handset devices readily available, plus the information from the early trials that demonstrate the financial benefits and the financial return on investment for 5G. And that is when you will start to see, first of all, companies that are doing small trials scaling that out to their whole company, and you will start to see a lot more companies starting to take licenses and start to do their own trials, or maybe go direct to launches. So I think it's going to explode. It's going to grow exponentially in the first half of 2022.
Thank you, David. That was very informative. I think that should have answered that question. And look, we have only just 1 minute left, so I don't think we have time for any more questions. But for there's 1 or 2 more in the chat, which will reach who they were directed for. We'll get back to you and get you an answer on any of your questions. So look, I just want to say thank you to our speakers, to our panelists, and to our experts for giving your time and giving your insights today. We hope that you found it an informative session for all our attendees, and feel free to reach out to any of the speakers. They'll be very happy to get in touch, or you can reach out to myself or at Druid, and we'll forward you on. And so thank you very much, and we hope you enjoyed and enjoy the rest of your day. Okay. Bye bye.
Thanks very much, Sarah, and thanks to all the other speakers. Very enjoyable.
Thanks, David. Thank you everyone. Okay.
Bye bye.